Our family opened our home to foster care in 2016, simply wanting to follow God's heart in helping orphans. Specifically, kids that are temporarily displaced from their parents.
While sitting through training to become a foster parent, my heart was deeply moved by the great need for babies' brains to be wired with love. I felt like we could make the most impact with an infant by providing a strong attachment, therefore a strong foundation for the rest of their lives. After several placements, we got a call for a medically fragile infant. This baby was placed with us and would change our hearts forever. As a teacher, I had loved other people's kids. We had loved our other placements as well. But this was different. I never knew the depth of love and connection I could feel for a complete stranger's child. And I never knew that it would match the love I felt for my own biological children.
Research shows that the more you respond to a child's needs, the more attachment occurs for both the caregivers and the child. And we had to respond a lot to this sweet baby's needs, more than a typical infant because of the medical needs that he had. Love for this child was woven into the fabric of our hearts and into our whole family, to the point that we were willing to do anything for him to maintain stability and to prevent any further trauma. Part of that anything happened 15 months later when we got to bring home his baby sister from the hospital in order to prevent displacement of this sweet boy and even possible displacement of two other siblings that were in a different home.
So at 47, we adjusted to life with two babies under 2, so much so that the idea of adoption crept across our hearts. This became a matter of prayer as it was actually spoken out loud by the case manager and even the bio mom. But just as we had begun to accept the possibility of adoption this late in life, variables changed, we got another new case manager, and one dad started working his plan. We had to step back and remind ourselves that the state's ultimate goal is reunification.
Then DFACS began pushing for all 4 siblings to be together until permanency was reached. So in April of 2020, in the midst of a pandemic, we welcomed 2 more siblings into the mix. The idea of adoption was spoken again by the case managers, and we actually entertained the idea of adopting 2 little redheads plus the 1 or 2 that we had from birth. However, it took 4 adults to survive 4 kids under 4 with all kinds of differing emotional needs. It wasn't long before the plan shifted once again. 3 would go to an adoptive placement and 1 for sure home to his dad. And finding a home for 3 children under 4 proved to be a challenge for the department. But finally, with DFACS working with FaithBridge, a home was found.
Back in May of 2020, when stress levels were running high in our house, God was moving on the hearts of a couple to grow their family through foster care.
Morgan and her 2 brothers came to live with us in October. What we thought was going to be 3 kids was the adoption of our sweet Morgan in April of 2022.
We are thankful for how God has worked out the details in Morgan's story. Through this process, we have learned to trust in God's sovereignty with the lives of our children. The church, the ongoing prayers, and loving on these kids is not lost on us, and we will forever be grateful.
They finished all of their paperwork and opened their home in August of 2020, just in time to be invited into the lives of 3 of these children. We began transitioning baby girl and the boys to live with the Beechers, and this move was final on October 10th of 2020. But wait, what we thought would be adoption of 3 kids changed. Just a few weeks into this placement, the older boy's dad began working a plan to bring the boys home to him.
So, our first baby boy went home to be with his dad in November of 2020. And reunification happened for the older two in October of 2021.
Throughout this process, which was 15 months for the baby girl, 2.5 years for the baby boy, and 3.5 years for the older two, there were for sure times when we thought we knew what was best for the kids in our care. And by our actions, our conversations, and even worrying, there were times where we acted like we knew better than God what was best for these kids. Even now, at the end of it all, when we're looking with human eyes, it's easy to see 4 siblings scattered. But when we look with the eyes of faith, we are able to acknowledge God's sovereignty, His kindness, and His care. We know that He has placed each child within their places so that they might seek Him and cry out to Him. Acts 17:26-27 says, "From one man, God has made every nationality to live over the whole earth, and He has determined their appointed times and the boundaries of where they live. He did this so that they might seek Him, and perhaps they might reach out and find Him, though He's not far from any one of us."
The ultimate and desired outcome for any child in care, their families, and all people is redemption. God working in the hearts of all that are involved. God in His love can take the messy and the broken and make it beautiful, whether through reunification or adoption, or simply through the privilege of us getting to be a part of their lives to this day.
God makes messy things beautiful when you put them in His hand. God makes messy things beautiful like only He can.